Good morning. Welcome in here on a Friday to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That is DB.
Who is? Me?
That one right there.
What's up?
What's going on?
How are things?
I'm Ravi Lulla. I'm doing good.
Ravi Lulla. Good to meet you.
I didn't wake up early enough to get a sandwich this morning.
Yeah, I'm kind of upset.
I wanted to.
I'm not even gonna pretend like
the eyes just weren't opening.
Even though it's not my business.
Yep.
And you're a grown up.
Yep.
And I have no business.
I'm a grown up is debatable. But...
really in the judgment zone this morning.
Sure.
But I am highly disappointed that the crusty dude is still knocking off the crustables.
You and me both. I'm just, that's not what I wanted to happen this morning. We didn't get there.
We didn't get there. What is going on?
Well, so my dogs woke me up at 4:00 in the morning.
Okay.
To go outside.
Yeah. So weird. Air high five.
Yeah.
Buddha uncharacteristically was a 240 this morning.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. I don't,
So I do.
Yeah.
I do.
We full moon or something?
No.
That ain't wet.
We get a little lazy.
Mm-hmm.
By we, I'm gonna everybody.
Okay.
Everybody. And we let them out a little early.
Everybody.
So we can go chill.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to let them out about 8:40, 8:45 at the earliest if you want to give yourself a chance for an uninterrupted 5 a.m. wake up or 4:40.
See, I was after that.
Now these guys last night, it was around the 8 o'clock hour.
Okay, I was out. I let mine out at about 9:30.
And Budo will let you know.
Yeah, so
he's the little rambunctious one.
Doug does this thing where I don't know when he just started doing it, where he doesn't want to come back inside.
How old is Douglas?
He is 3.5.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah,
God, he's big.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, man.
He's a big boy. We call him the meat missile sometimes. He's just like a little because he goes so fast. He just gets like
there are times where Buddha will come shooting up the back deck and just run in the house, and it's like we have a dining room table right there. You're in trouble, and somehow he always manages to dodge it.
Yeah,
now he will slide like we have wood floors. Now he will slide his little behind across the floor, and spin out. But yeah, he's a nut job.
Yeah, Doug is crazy. He's just a total maniac. And so, but he started doing this thing where he'll come up on the deck
like flash dance
to come back up, to come back inside. And then as soon as you go to let him inside, he runs back down into the yard. And he just keeps doing that to the point where I have to lure him inside with
Oh yeah. See, I may punch my dog in the face. See, I'm not doing that.
Well, it's like 4:00 in the morning, so I'm just trying to go back to bed.
My dogs know, like I have a whistle, and it is of a particular style.
Yeah.
But the way that I trained them is to have a reward at the end of that whistle.
We do the same thing.
So they know, like
we do the same thing.
And you know how sometimes you just can't whistle? It's like you had a mouthful of saltines and you just can't quite get it out. I feel like a 3-year-old sometimes figuring it out. It's like
you're like flow right out there.
You're like, yeah, there's an ugly look on your face, but it's normal. Don't worry. But like the good ones where I get it out, like they know it's TREAT time.
We do the same thing when I call them, they come inside, they get their treat. Like I don't know what his deal is.
Maybe you need to have some speaks with him, pull him to the side.
I might need to just be like, hey, Rocky would never do this to me.
Yeah, I told you on TikTok, I saw.
So it needs to be like a Doug, come back.
Come back, Doug, come back. What I wonder what that little dude is doing now. Because that had to be in the 40s or 50s. The little dude that played in that wasn't even Shane. Shane was the cowboy. The little
come on, Shane.
The little dude is the kid that cried. He had the little gap in his teeth. I wonder where he is. That was a terrible haircut.
I don't think he's around anymore.
I was gonna say if it's 40s or 50s, there's a good chance he's.
Well, I don't know. Is that when the movie was made?
But I think
I don't know what movie it is.
I think he passed in like the 70s or something.
Oh, so he died.
Oh, so he was young. Yeah. Are you sure?
You know they say only the good die young. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's a song. Who sings it?
Only the good. It sounds like a Billy Joel.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Is that right, Shane?
Probably.
Come on, man. You're all in on Don Henley.
He certainly wasn't talking about his baby batter.
Why the fuck is Shane walking in there?
Age.
Yeah,
that didn't die.
Yeah, he That's a choice.
Tough hang.
Man, they're tough hang when you got energy. I can't imagine trying to have a kid when you're like 70.
Yeah.
Come on, man. What are we doing here?
You should try it when you're 45.
So I'm going to pass on that. Sounds like somebody's speaking definitely in the abstract and not a very specific.
This little girl's running around the house with her shirt around her head, singing a made-up song. Knowing good and well, the bubbles are ready, the bath is ready. The only question she could ask me is, Dad, why is there powder in the toilet? I don't know, Zoe. Get your little narrow behind in the bath.
I think Zoe and Doug might be the same person.
Listen, I'm just thankful that we're raising a little girl that enjoys her hygiene. Almost too much so. You've heard some of the morning. She's a little neurotic.
Yeah. I wonder where that came from.
But it's easy. It's easy to tamper that down than it is to elevate. She takes a bath every morning.
Seems totally out of character considering who her father is.
Yep. She also gets it from her brothers. They're weird too.
Well, I wonder where they got it from.
Now that was intentional. 100%.
Coming up on the show today, we've got
kind of like not calling fouls. That was intentional.
We'll get to that.
I'm not going to get into that.
Oh, we're gonna.
You're not going to bait me.
You want to bet?
I'm not an official guy.
I know. Coming up on the show today, we've got Mitch Sherman from The Athletic.
Good. Glad Mitch could switch.
We've got Mike Sautter at 8:30. Weird time for him today because he's got state basketball. He's a busy man these next couple weeks.
I talked to him already this morning.
And
he only said 4 expletives.
He woke up full of vinegar. It sounded
why are we cussing so early?
I don't know.
Like nothing real. I mean, unless you had.
Well, that's a great question, Ravi, Lulla.
That's very specific.
It's very funny.
Coming up at 8:45, we've got the head basketball coach of your Creighton Blue Jays, Greg McDermott. He will be joining us, so that'll be fun. They've got senior day tomorrow against Marquette. And then we will wrap up the show, as we always do, with one Matty Vrzal, former Husker and owner of One Paisan's Pizzeria. All right, let's get into Nebraska, Ohio State.
No, I don't want to.
You don't want to talk about the game at all?
No.
They lost.
No poop.
Well, just I don't know what you may do here.
Fudge. Get a nice little haircut and get your ears lowered. Get the man bun in full effect. You're feeling a little testosterone-y this morning?
Yes, nothing makes me feel more testosterone-y than the man bun, DB.
Are you just like at wit's end what to do with it?
No, so here's the thing. I'm going to have to shave my head sooner rather than later. Like, the hairline's receding. I'm aware. I don't need, I know, right? So I'm just holding on to it for as long as I can. As soon as it gets to a point where I'm like, don't like this anymore, it's just all going.
Just going to Wilson Phillips that thing all the way.
Hold on for one more day.
I know that there is hair, but you... No, I'm just...
Yeah, no, as soon as it gets to a point where I'm like, as things getting to the point where it's receding too much, we're just going to shave it off and call it a day.
Yeah.
Until then, we're rocking the man bun.
So I know who we can hold responsible. Hang on. like Sloopy, not Snoopy, right?
Sloopy. Hang on, Sloopy. Sloopy, hang on.
Yeah, I was 49 years old when I figured that out. Thanks for ruining it for me.
How did I ruin it? I corrected you. That's what friends do. I'm trying to keep you accountable.
100%. You and Jacob Padilla. Hey,
somebody's got to keep you in line.
So I blame Brian Edwards.
B. Edwards?
So his capping was 100% spot on.
Yeah, so if Jamison doesn't play, he likes Nebraska. Jamison Battle did play. And what was the number, 144 and a half?
Yeah, he said if Battle plays, I definitely like the over.
Mm-hmm. Nailed it.
Did Jamison Battle play? Because he may have been the best player on the court.
I don't think there's any question about that. He had 32 points. Well, you would ask.
Sometimes it's not always about that. Like what I mean?
But he was dominant.
Gosh, he was unbelievable.
He was dominant.
Like, did you guys pull a New England Patriots with the injury report? Like, what was questionable about that performance?
Well, and then
what was upgradable about that performance?
Yeah,
you look like you were good to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I that did not look like someone that
he hit every repertoire shot that I think a guy can shoot.
And 10 of 10 from the free throw line.
I mean, he was a little raggedy from behind the arc. Why he shot 12 threes, I have no idea.
I don't know. Only one miss came from inside the arc. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, 4 of 12 from behind.
9 of 18 over. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why is that happening? Why are we doing that?
How about the tough contested pull up he hit in the lane to kind of, I don't know if there was about to be a run, but it was it felt like the dagger.
Felt like there was kind of a last chance of momentum for Nebraska.
There were two things that happened before that where I was like, ooh. Juwan Gary from what would be the left wing drives and inexplicably misses the whole unit on the layup.
Yeah, that one where he got a clean look.
So I said to myself, I said, I wonder if he
anticipated contact.
Yes, like if it was cleaner than he thought.
It had to have been, because otherwise he misses the rim
because that would cut it. That would have cut it to 2.
Yes, because it was like 69, 65 at that point or something like that. And or 67, 63. I know they kind of kept that gap for a minute. But yeah, he blows by his guy.
And then the open 3 that he sailed. And I was like, and this is totally not a Juwan Gary thing.
No, but he
didn't shoot it well from behind the arc.
0 for 6 from 3. Tominaga was 2 for 7. You're gonna need better out of those. I mean, and then CJ Wilcher continues to struggle 1 for 5.
So how about the 3 that Tominaga shot off the bounce on the step back, and they quickly panned the camera to Coach Hoiberg, and he gave that look right there, the subtle head shake, and all I could go back to was the presser from like 3 weeks ago, and he's like, sometimes you're gonna have to live with a few of those from KC.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. That one was they had their chances, even without getting the benefit of some calls. And not getting to the charity stripe.
No, they had,
and that's their like Nebraska gets to the foul line.
They had 8 total free throw attempts, just for comparison's sake. Ohio State had 28 free throw attempts, which is more. It is more. By a margin.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me do some quick maths here.
It's important. I mean, most of those guys think it's easy.
So 8 is 20 fewer than 28. I haven't taken math in a while, but I'm pretty sure that's right. I don't need to get the
and you do the fancy math too with a bunch of letters and not numbers.
Right? I used to. Yeah. Okay. I don't.
These are just basic numbers. Are you sure you can handle
it? I'm pretty sure. I think that one's right. I think 8 is 20 fewer than 28.
Bless, please, my dear Aunt Sally.
Which
brackets, parentheses. How does it go again? What's the order of operations?
Bracket, parentheses, multiplication, division, subtraction, addition.
Bless, please, my dear Aunt Sally. Yeah.
Or addition, subtraction, doesn't matter.
Okay.
They're the same.
I remember that. I don't remember the teacher that taught me that.
Yeah.
But she did say, and she was older. I do remember. I can see her face vividly. Bless, please, my dear Aunt Sally. And I was like, are people still named that? Even in the early 90s? There weren't a lot of Sallys.
Sally Fields.
I mean, there were Fields and Struthers, but
yeah,
they're pretty old.
Yeah, they're getting there. So, I mean, I know you don't want to talk about officials.
No, it's fine. It's part of the conversation. It's part of the conversation.
So, did you think there was, like, obviously there's a free throw differential there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watching it live without looking at the numbers, did you feel like the game was being called strangely or unevenly?
So that's the thing. I didn't
either.
So
I didn't notice it until I was on Twitter and started seeing people say, hey man, they're getting a lot of free throws. And they were. I mean, Ohio State was getting a lot of free throws. I thought Nebraska was fouling quite a bit, and I didn't think they were forcing the issue on the offensive end the way they tend to.
Yeah, full disclosure. I did not use so I got home. I had just gotten home from West Side, and the game was tipping.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the middle of trying to get dinner ready. I'd done some pre-stuff before I left, but like there's that, okay, got to get this together.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't have your phones at the dinner table. So like being on my phone wasn't a thing until probably with about 8 or 9 to go in the third, because I'm also trying to figure out if I'm laughing or mad at people that paid for Flow Baseball when it's only like it's not very advantageous anymore without softball. With Nebraska only has, I think, 1 or none games left, and softball used to use it, but it doesn't anymore. So I was just wondering about the $30 subscription, but I didn't want to poke fun. I just was kind of enjoying that and seeing why Nebraska was getting had one run at the time with a guy that was throwing about 80 mile an hour. But so then I got on social media.
They came back and won, so all good.
Yeah, I mean, that's a gutty,
pretty dramatic. Down 5-1, bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, I don't
in the
know
top of
what
the ninth.
I don't know what quad COC will be in eventually. I think it's a good baseball program.
Yeah, I don't know how they are this year specifically.
Maybe a 3, quad 3, maybe. Chance for a 2,
Yeah,
quad 2.
I think so.
All right. So anyway, so that's when I got on social media, and then
that's when the foul.
That's when the foul stuff started to creep in my head.
And to be fair, that is a big differential. I don't know what to tell you there. I didn't just at eyeball test. I didn't look at it and say something feels off here.
What did you think happened when it was like 25-20 and Ohio State kind of has that burst where they take control of the game after being down 5? Do you remember, not to be all specific about one thing, but there was this sequence of things that happened where I felt like that's when Ohio State got in the rhythm.
Yeah, I don't know, because I thought that Nebraska responded to that okay, because then they took a lead back again before halftime, before they were down three and a half. So I don't know. I felt like that kind of happened a few times in the first half. Obviously, Ohio State kind of spurts out. Nebraska figures things out for a little bit. And then it's at that 25-20 point. Ohio State has their kind of little bit of a run. I thought that was just kind of how the game was going. I didn't look at it and say, they figured something out necessarily. I really didn't expect the second half to go much different. And for the most part, I didn't think it did. I mean, you were kind of throwing back and forth. Ohio State took a little bit of control, but they weren't up by more than a couple possessions for most of that second half.
How good was Sean Mean's business with his call on Devin Royal? Remember, he was talking about don't let the nickname throw you. It's just Sean Means, our guy that covers Ohio State yesterday.
Oh, Steven
Means.
Okay, yeah.
You're like, Sean.
Yeah, sorry, I was confused.
Sean Steven.
Yeah,
Sean Stevens. No. He had some timely putbacks in keeping the ball alive, and I was like, this son of a gun, because I don't think he played a ton of minutes to have have gone 4 or 6.
21.
Oh, that's more than I thought. Okay, so that's more than I would have thought.
I thought he was in there a little bit.
Yeah. I did not.
It was, he was.
I was too busy mesmerized by Battle's off the ball movement, and then how they just sometimes let him pound it.
Yeah.
And kind of ISO him. Almost like, who's this dude think he is? Julius Randle?
Maybe
it's the left-handed 30. I don't know, but
there's a little Julius. There's, and especially with the taking away too many threes, a lot of Julius Randle in this game.
I don't know, but if he comes back healthy, then Knicks will be all right.
They'll be fine. They didn't look very good last night.
No.
I didn't even think the Warriors looked very good last night, but
doesn't matter. Right now, you're just trying to stack dubs.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Although I will say, I know we don't talk a lot of association here, but I might have to revisit my Jonathan Kuminga position.
From what to what?
I hated him.
So I remember vividly. This was just a few weeks ago when we were talking about the trade via text.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would have taken the Kuminga in the package and the ask. Yeah. And you could have had Christian Wood. We could have made the money work. I didn't get this. And you did kind of say, well, I didn't think Kuminga was going to be a good pro. And I knew you hated when he got drafted.
I hated when he got drafted. And listen,
he's a good player.
He's turned into a really good player. My issue with him when he got drafted was, and I still have this issue, I think the Warriors organization tried to go too galaxy brain on him here and be like, well, we can have this core and they'll win titles. And then by the time they're retiring, we'll have Poole.
Shane, do we have the Star Trek name in there? That was always a good one.
Well, maybe.
That means no. That's a no. And then they're like, well, then we could have Wiseman and Poole and Kuminga and Moody, and we'll win more championships with them. I was like, hey, here's an idea. You have a top 10 player of all time right now.
Just
win as many championships as you can with Steph Curry.
Every time I see Strack up there as a golfer, I think Martin Strack, a former Pittsburgh Penguin.
That's the thing that frustrated me the most. So a lot of it's not as much about Kuminga as it is about the front office, to be fair.
Yeah. So
he is he sort of is the personification of my frustration with the front office. But I will say he has been he's turned into a really good player. At least she's shown me enough to think that he could be a really good player. I don't know that there's a consistency out there yet, but he's at least useful now. Whereas before, I was like, you can't even use this guy.
I can kind of spin this back to Nebraska and Ohio State
because
Golden State does shoot threes. Real time watching that game. What did you think Ohio State was better from behind the arc than they were?
It sort of felt like it.
Did you think that they were better from the floor than they were?
Ooh, yeah, probably.
Did they seem better than whatever it was, 23 or 54?
Yeah, so they were.
That was right. That's right. It's
20. So 42.5%.
It seemed better than that.
I agree. I would have guessed that they were in the high 40s.
It's why I'm always amazed. Like, you can tell when people just look at box scores, and you can tell because there are these times where you'll pit the box score against what you actually see.
Yeah,
and it's
like,
that doesn't.
Well, that's why I asked you about the free throws, right? Because in real time,
that's a good question. Because I didn't know what you thought.
Yeah,
we were clearly not going to talk about it before, but
in real time,
I didn't get the officiating discrepancy either.
I didn't think it was that egregious in the moment. I will say, I wonder if Ohio State felt, because Nebraska wasn't getting a ton of stops, even because of the free throws, right? Even when Ohio State wasn't making shots, because they were still putting points on the board. A lot of times, for me at least, it can feel like they're more efficient offensively than they are, at least from the field. So that's kind of the sense that I got when I was watching that game last night. But I mean,
one thing I think was
apparent.
Sure. Wow.
Maybe.
I guess. Let's go with that. Apparent. No, evident.
There we go.
That's the word I was thinking. What did I say? Elevant,
which is not a word at all.
Okay, so what was the one I was going with? Evident.
Was
Nebraska needed to do a better job cleaning the glass.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so that was a thing happening real time where we're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, because they ended up -10 on the glass, and it felt worse than that, honestly. It seemed like every important rebound Ohio State got.
Yeah.
And it became an outsized part of the game in that one there. But not a bad loss for Nebraska still. Still a Q1 game.
Hey, go Ohio State.
Still no bad losses, right?
Yes.
See? See?
Yes, thank you.
There we go. Coming up next,
I saw my man Lego Maniac.
Yeah?
At you. Zach? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did.
You talk about Nebraska basketball.
That's the guy?
All in.
Coming up next, we will get into a whole lot more NFL Combine and all more coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We are back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. At some point, DB might put the headset back on. We'll see. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. We are.
This whole YouTube thing is like cramping my style.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, and DB not here for technology, apparently.
Well, I just is it important to be seen?
Yes.
Okay, Sasha.
It's the year 2024, year of our Lord. We're not doing just. We love our terrestrial radio partners, but
it's better to be seen than viewed. That's what I always hear.
No, that's 100% true. Even though you would definitely have a baby casket.
I don't even know what that means.
Is that a little morbid?
A little bit. Wish I could have it.
Folks are noticing my Nebraska gear for the second time in 3 weeks of being back with you.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
got the Fighting Road whites on today.
I like the whites. That's a good look.
Is it? Thank you.
Yeah, I like the I like the pullovers like that. Those are nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to bum another couple of more.
Yeah.
So Coach Rule's been rocking the sleeveless the zip ups.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones I want.
The vests.
He's rocked the red one. He had the black one on the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dude was rocking the Belichickian hoodie.
Okay.
Pacing the other day in Lincoln. I was like, but we rock those, at school. I gave you one of those. Yeah. So
I love a short sleeve hoodie. Love them.
Took me a while, but since I always wear long sleeves anyway, I just figured out how to work around it.
Yeah,
I'm going to have long sleeves under it.
Yeah, you just layer.
Yeah.
As we've done here this morning.
I feel like you're taking a shot.
No, it's you. I mean, you're doing the same thing.
Are you taking a shot?
What am I taking shots for? What is K-State Tominaga taking some of those shots for? late in the game there.
I wasn't happy about that.
No, his shot. I mean,
I know it sounds like I'm hard on him, so I'm going to let it ride. But I just think discernment is important.
In all areas of life, but especially in shot selection, which is ironic coming from me because I didn't have a lot of that as a basketball player.
Isn't it ironic?
A little too ironic.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, we could ask our guy JP. He's played some pickleball with me. Discernment and shot selection is not my strong suit.
Are you one of those guys unforced errors because you're always trying to hit winners?
Not unforced errors, but it's going up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'm. Well, I don't want to say that. Yeah, I put some shots up.
Yeah,
that's all I'm there for.
Let it rain.
I'm pretty good at fouling. I'm a good fouler.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's my skill set.
Interesting.
I can shoot and I can foul.
Kind of what was happening to Nebraska.
A little bit.
I think the 50-50 balls thing was kind of bugging me a little bit, though. Because now that I think about it off air, because I don't like to talk about how games are going if we're going to talk about it later.
On air. Yeah.
So I think the 50-50 thing and the rebounds really was bugging me. But how about my man Cole?
J. Cole?
Actually, a sneaky good lyricist. Don't
Don't love the music.
But he's good with his lyrics. But no, it's not Cole. It's Corey, who told me on the stream that my man from College of Charleston was only pumping in 73, 74. I said 80.
Yeah.
Maybe I was being generous.
Yeah. 73, 74 is not good for a Division I college pitcher. That's very bad. That's like
it's not good for high school.
That's fair also. Your version,
unless that's your straight change or something.
Your version on like knuckleball territory in low 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
I guess I should have paid closer attention. I was too busy picking at particular at bats. I got to get out of that.
What do you mean?
Like sometimes I can weird. I can get in the weeds with like
sort of fixate on something.
Certain things that happen during the course of a game, like ooh, if that at bat had been a little bit better, or Drew Carey, like what do you? Not Drew Carey, Dylan Carey, like what do you like?
Yeah.
Ooh, not that approach at that time, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or put him on the move. So, but again, that's probably the coach in me.
Yeah, I think it's easy to sort of.
You made me mad yesterday. I'm full disclosure.
What'd I do?
Well, you were very definitive about why I was not going to be disappointed if Dylan didn't start. And you were in typical Ravi delivery fashion. Oh, 100% we'd be pissed. Like, yeah, we'd be disappointed. But that's the coach in you that wouldn't be disappointed.
I mean, I don't.
And I was like, well, if a little different delivery, it'd have probably landed better. But I'm traumatized about using delivery on air because I used to work with a guy that told me only certain people worried about delivery.
I think delivery,
and it were people that lacked a ton of testosterone. So I try not to get into that.
Well, that's a stupid take by that person. It is. Because
hey, Severe, if you're walking Mondo, hit us up 888-638.
That's a dumb take. Listen, I love Severe. He doesn't bat 1,000. Nobody does.
The delivery was a bad take.
Yeah, I mean, listen, delivery 100% matters. It just does, right? Whether you're on air talking about something, whether you're with your spouse talking about something, whether with your kids talking about something. Delivery changes the entire theme of what you're saying to that person.
Thank you.
Like if I'm sitting here and I go, yeah, DB, you're real smart.
If I was in a support group, you want to be hi, I'm Ravi.
My sponsor. No, like this. I'm sitting here and I go, yeah, DB, you're super smart. But that's a different delivery than, yeah, that was really smart. I said the same thing.
Right. No, I'm with you.
No, I know, but I mean, like, I just disproved his entire thing in 30 seconds.
I think he thought I was a little sensitive. If tone was a little harsh.
I mean,
it's like, oh, why do you have to say it like that? It's like, just understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. Don't worry about how I said it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people say when they're being defensive because they did something they shouldn't have.
Or offensive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, tone is a large part of what you're saying.
Tone.
Yeah. Attitude.
Just seeing how my
delivery.
See if I could get my chest back round. Not really vibing with the shape right now.
Okay, I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Tone,
Oh,
man,
okay.
tone.
I was like, I don't know. You lost me there.
Hey, so, by the way, speaking of
Could
Bills,
you throw 73 today?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think so.
100%.
Yeah, 73 is not fast.
Matter of fact, now full disclosure, I threw my arm out.
Yeah,
but there was a little display. See, and Sasha was there. And I think I threw it as hard as I could.
Yeah.
I maybe even crow hop, like old school outfielder
Yeah.
days. And I think it was 78.
Yeah.
At the CWS.
How long ago was that?
It was the year of the Dark Knight because I took a picture with Matt Harvey.
So we're getting
So
like the actual
probably
Dark Knight,
no,
like the movie.
They just called him that.
No, I know, but like, was it the year the movie came out, or was it the year of Matt Harvey?
No. As a matter of fact, I took a picture with him. It's on my phone. It's probably dated, so maybe 18 or 17.
Okay, fair. Okay, so like reasonably recent.
Yeah, and I probably still could.
Yeah,
especially if I got loose.
I think if you gave me like a month, I could do it.
Yeah. Can you raise your arm above your head?
Kinda. I mean, that's about as far as I can go.
That is very interesting. Are you a caveman? Like we're in a different.
What do you mean?
Past the crustacean period. You're like an ogre. You're like,
well,
I think I can.
Well, I mean, listen, there was a lot of powerlifting years in there where the mobility and movement was sacrificed for the the numbers.
But maybe the soft toss clearly had Nebraska off balance.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you're throwing that slow, it matters.
And I guess I didn't realize it was low 70s. I knew it was soft toss.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was like, gosh, like I kept looking at position in the batter's box, and the broadcast was so stinking quiet again. But whatever. Like I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
As long as I can watch, I'm not.
You figure out.
I'm not crying. I'm not crying.
Yeah.
But shout out Tony Romo.
My quarterback.
I may cry over that. But so the cool thing about there's a couple cool takeaways from that. I knew we were going to get into the combine, but I had to just. So if Nebraska is going to be this gritty team that wins close games, the more you can do that and have it be a part of your DNA,
yeah,
cool. I'm all for it. Now, would I take trailing 5-1 and going into the 9th or 8th and having to manufacture and cheering for my man Silva, who, by the way, may be a DB favorite?
Yeah,
it's early. I'm gonna give myself another couple weeks to like the guy that I rally for.
You're thinking about it though,
but Silva's he can run. He was clutch yesterday. It's not always pretty. He understands his role, but to have Christo have to hang in there because he didn't have his best stuff early, and then he got him into deep waters, which was good,
which is what he needed.
And then to have them come back late, I'm like, okay, use that as a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Nebraska baseball comes away with a 6-5 win yesterday against College of Charleston. Coming up next, we're going to get into a little NFL combine here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We're wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
Why are you encouraging TK?
Dude, because that's funny. On the YouTube stream, you can get us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DBM Ravi Lulla.
It's contributing to this delinquency.
Our guy TK goes, I want to shout out Filipowski for his bravery in playing yesterday or 2 days ago. To come back from such a devastating injury is an inspiration to us all. Represents Duke well. I actually do think it is very representative of Duke, how that whole situation played out. You're a Carolina guy. You can't disagree. Come on.
I'm not. Listen, until we play them at down the stretch here next week, I reserve all judgment.
Not saying anything.
No,
I'm just glad that devastating injury was not long term, that he was miraculously healed.
Stop it.
We are in the days of Lent, so maybe there was some sort of Lenten miracle. Performed on Kyle Filipowski's knee.
Flip, as the kids like to call him.
I'm not gonna call him that.
My man.
I'm not gonna call him that.
So, at what age are you too good to call another grown man by a nickname? Because I use them all the time.
No, nicknames are fine, but Flip is stupid.
Wow,
Flip is dumb.
I'm a little confused. How do you really feel?
I think that
I think there's a.
Although, if he's gonna,
can you just get to how you really feel?
I mean, if he's gonna act like a child, we can give him a childish nickname. That's fine.
Wow, my man Jordan. He goes, "Am I the only one that's a little frustrated about the small ball that Coach Bolt plays, especially with Silva? I would never take the bat out of that kid's hands. And he's talking about in the first inning after the double. Now, here's the thing. So, yeah, okay. And it's not just because I like Jordan. He's a fellow baseball junkie. But even though he's a Cardinals fan, that's okay.
Is it?
It is, because I was once upon a time envious of their front office.
Oh, yeah, they've done a good job.
Oh,
For a long time.
every year they trot out a competitive team. That's all you can ask for.
Who was that for a long? Walt Jocketty? Was he the GM for a long time?
You're going.
I'm way back, but yeah.
Jeez. Dust off the. You want some Jameson and a smock with that?
I mean, am I wrong or am I right?
Silva can run.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're ever taking. I thought he was talking about the sack later on, but I don't know if you're ever really taking the bat out of his hands the way that he can run.
Yeah.
But I think he probably wants him to stay on the gas early.
Yeah, I don't know that you want to.
Maybe he felt like that was going to be a defensive game. I didn't get that sense early.
Yeah, I have a hard time unless I know I'm going against a dominant pitcher. I have a hard time wanting to manufacture runs early.
Yeah.
Right? I kind of want to let it play out. I kind of want to let my hitters hit. I don't necessarily – if I'm going up against a guy that I know is just a machine, and if we get one or –
Friday night.
Yeah, if we're getting like one or two –
from Iowa City.
Yeah, if we're getting like one or two runs, then we're in good shape. Then, yeah, as soon as I get somebody on base, I'm trying to manufacture a run. But I mean, when a guy's soft tossing 73, 74 up there, that's not really the sense that I get. And so, like, you should be able to score crooked numbers on a guy like that.
Yeah.
And I just don't love.
You thought getting out of the gates 1-0 could have been 3-0?
Yeah, I mean, like you're taking yourself out of a big inning potentially, right? And it's like that's why it's different when when it's starters versus relievers, so it's a little different. But like whenever the Sox used to play Mariano, they would try and manufacture a run if they got a guy on base, which makes a ton of sense because you're not getting multiple hits in a row off that guy. Just not happening, right? But against other relievers, you're like, yeah, we got a guy on base. Let's see if we can get something going. Maybe he's not sharp today. This wasn't a dominant guy at College of Charleston. This is a guy you can get crooked numbers on.
I do think, though, I just have a gut feeling. Hope I'm right.
Like the Black Eyed Peas?
3 straight. You're trending.
Well, I mean, listen, you were doing Champagne Supernova for the first week and a half. We were back. So
because of the volleyballs. May I have one of those, please?
Yeah. Oh, no, they're both mine. I decided I want to keep them.
Selfish. Thank you. I need something to do with my hands.
Selfish. Supernovas.
Yeah. What did you do? Did you show the camera?
I showed the camera the logo here. Supernovas. See
how I throw my circle change?
That's not a circle change.
It is too.
That's like a cutter.
No, it's not. It's way back in the palm of my hand.
Oh, so that's not a circle change, though. Circle change has the circle.
Look, listen to what I'm telling you. What do you guys see?
That's not what you did. You did this. This is what you did.
This is not going to be my slider, though. This would be my 2-seamer.
Okay, so like a cutter, like a 2-seamer.
You can cut it, but I'm not having that action.
Okay, fair. But that's
listen, I like my UCLL and I love my
I
don't throw hard enough.
You don't need them. I'm just saying, this is what you did first when you called it a circle
I could put
change.
it back. I could palm ball.
That's a palm ball. That's like a straight change.
This is how I used to throw it.
The knuckle?
And I would use my pinky. This is like terrible radio.
I was a full knuckle change guy. My circle change was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you break when you had like that 11.4 ERA?
Well, listen.
How in the
Who cares about stats?
Should have thrown it more.
So the playing for stuff early, I don't know. I just have the weird feeling that if they can get a series victory, we'll look back at this
as a good series.
As a good series.
100%. This is less opponent dependent and more my baseball philosophy in general. I'm not a huge fan of trying to manufacture runs.
We used to cheer for guys like Mike Greenwell. I mean, what else? You don't have a choice.
Mike Greenwell's a little before my time.
Okay.
A little. Like right before. Like Mo Vaughn is kind of where I start.
That's I mean, same philosophy. Left-hander, short porch, like.
Okay, but that's not manufacturing runs.
I know that's kind of more monster ball.
Yeah, that's what I'm more. I grew up in like mid to late 90s, early 2000s baseball, both in college and the pros.
That's a shame.
Like I'm talking about.
That's a shame.
home run balls here, right?
Yeah.
Crooked numbers, put up big innings. So, like, it might be a me problem. That's fine. I'll recognize that. But unless the guy's dominant, I just don't understand the point of, or unless you look at your lineup and you're like, we're not very good.
The game is vastly different than the one that I grew up loving, but I still love the way that it's played.
And that's fine. I
was watching West Side yesterday, and I was just thinking, oh my gosh, would we have ever, like, what would our practices have looked like? And granted, where you are in the season matters, and it's early.
Yeah.
So things are different. But the only thing I can really remember outside of hitting indoors off of pitching machines with wiffle balls is almost all situational baseball. And it's like,
and listen, situational baseball is very important,
but not so much anymore.
Well, it can be, especially in high school and college.
Depends on who you are,
and more so in high school and college than it is in the league, right? But I still think you have to pick your situations correctly, right? Because you'll cost yourself games if you're not good at situational baseball. You can.
Yeah, I'm vibing. I don't want to nitpick. I think, like, it's the philosophy is vastly different.
It is, but I don't know that early against College of Charleston against a guy that's not a dominant pitcher.
Oh, you're going back to Jordan.
If you like your lineup, I don't know that that's the time that I personally.
I just don't think Nebraska is going to be a great offensive team.
That's fine, and
I think
if that's the case, then that's fine.
I mean, look what they're missing from last year.
I get that, but we talked to Michael Bruns a couple weeks ago where he's like, yeah, you're missing the two top guys. You might have better lineup depth than you had before, though.
No, I don't know if I believe that either.
Okay, that's fair. I mean,
it was early, so I'm not taking him to task. And he was having an opinion early without seeing anything.
Sure.
Yet. On paper, I could see that, but I don't know if they have as much. This is weird, like versatility. They have some guys that can do some different things within the lineup, right? Mm-hmm. So you're like, duh, that's versatility. But I don't think they can. I don't think they can play like shop at the gap, right? I think they're going to be more. They're going to be more situational. Like, do we have sales? Like, I just don't see them going like.
They can't score in as many ways.
In as big a bunches.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
Now, granted, we just saw a
4-run ninth.
Yeah, but it took, the throwing error helped.
It did. Absolutely.
So, like, I don't know. It's early.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if they have as much versatility with pop.
I mean, that's fair. If that's how you view the lineup, then trying to manufacture runs really makes more sense.
Yeah.
I come from a Moneyball type.
And they have a couple of good hitters that are not seeing it real well right now.
I come from a Moneyball type background where I don't like giving away outs. Like, I have a really hard time, unless the situation really dictates it, giving away outs. And so that's where I get into a little bit of philosophical dilemma, giving away or trying to manufacture runs, because manufacturing runs almost always means giving away outs. And I come from things sort of like I went, growing up in Moneyball, and then I kind of go into a financial background. Like, outs are the commodity that you have in baseball. That's the only thing you have. And so you don't want to give away your most valuable asset in baseball.
Yeah.
That's where I struggle. And listen, there's times to do it. There's times where it makes sense. But I'm a lot more selective about it than other people are.
I remember since we're still on baseball, there was a stretch where I was meeting a couple of friends on the internet, like my buddy Aaron Sim and this other guy, Derek Martin. D-Mart is in radio now.
He's over in Iowa. Yeah, I know Derek.
Yeah. So good. But like I went to his wedding.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I've never actually met him in person, but he's had me on the show a bunch.
Like, small world, right?
Yeah.
We're still like boys to this day. And we got into a knockdown, drag out, as much as you can message board argument.
Yeah.
Over productive outs.
Yeah.
And strikeouts versus hitting in the double plays. Because he's a big WAR guy, and he loves analytics. Like, he and the other guy from the other channel show that we like, and the as a friend.
Yeah.
Would get along great. The guy with the red.
Can I make you an argument?
Red panda.
Can I make you an argument that I don't want to give away outs, but if I'm getting an out anyway, I'd rather have a productive one than a strikeout?
I'll never. I mean, this went on for like 2 months.
Can I have the best of both worlds?
And it started because he hates Derek Jeter.
Mitch
Sherman coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Kicking off hour number 2 here at Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi, Lulla, DB here with me. We're live on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
What's up, 308? Everybody not named Matt Vrzal.
We have a lively debate going on in the YouTube comments about Derek Jeter being overrated, and I am here for it.
You guys are so unbelievable. It's like the worst trendy narrative to hate. My favorite is this.
If it makes you feel,
if he played at Kansas City, he would just be another guy.
No kidding. Market matters. So does handling the pressure. Stop it.
If it makes you feel any better, I've disliked Derek Jeter for well over 25 years at this point. So
it's laughable. You guys are going to try to tell me this guy's not a top 5 shortstop of all time.
I'm limited range into the hole.
Oh, yep. You read out of the same books as the rest of these weirdos.
Saying, if he had range to the hole, he wouldn't have to jump every time. All right, coming up on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline is our guy, Mitch Sherman. Mitch, how are you this morning?
Fudge. I'm good. I'm just choking on some coffee here.
Listen, Mitch, I apologize. He's going to try to light this fuse and move on. It's just one of the dumbest discussions. You may not think Derek Jeter is the best, the greatest, but to say he's not top 5, 6 shortstops of all time is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And don't give me the market thing. Okay? Hey, what about runs saved? Okay. Okay, guys.
I'm just saying he's like a career 800 OPS guy now.
Here we go.
It's not that impressive.
Here we go.
Not that impressive.
Yeah. You take Tatis and I'll win.
Mitch, how are you this morning?
All right. Am I back?
Yeah.
We're off to a solid start here.
You love baseball. I'm curious.
I got tears coming down out of this eye because I took a sip of coffee and it went down the wrong. All right. Yeah, he's one of the top 5 or 6 greatest shortstops of all time. And I put into my consideration just the fact that he won championships. And sure, that's got a lot to do with the organization that he was a part of, but he was the leader of that group, right? I mean, he was the guy that was driving them to the championships. He was the one who was making the incredible plays and shoveling the ball to the catcher on the relay throw. So, the ultimate gamer, ultimate competitor. I think whatever team he was a part of would have been successful within reason. And I think top 5 or 6 is like probably a disservice to Derek Jeter. He's top 2 or 3.
So if Jeremy Giambi learns how to slide, we're not having this conversation.
Somebody with some sense. But I've liked Mitch.
I mean, I don't care about the stats too much, but the stats are still good with him.
Right.
The stats are fine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 3,000 hits, right?
Yeah. He's a compiler. Congratulations. He was pretty good for a really long time.
Compiler. What does that even mean? Like
the
compiler. I played for a long time, had a ton of success. Let's just discredit him for that.
Let's go.
He had a medium amount of success for a very long time.
Yeah, Derek Jeter and modicum amount of success. Those things go together. Just a lot of blasphemy going on because
I'm starting to get more and more fired up about this discussion.
It's just popular to hate on him
To be clear, I only hate him because I'm a Red Sox fan.
Okay.
I don't actually I'm not going to actually sit here and be like, I don't think Derek Jeter is very good. But it's fun because I know it bothers DB. So
I have no reason to like him as a Royals fan. But I mean, I can't help but respect the guy. I mean, he's the ultimate. It's the ultimate respect. Like Derek Jeter, he's got the meme with the respect, right?
With the kid and the hat.
Yeah, right. He's
that might be the best moment of Derek Jeter's career, though. Honestly, for being honest.
Oh, Mitch, I'm almost afraid to. I'm gonna ask you because you're smart, right? But I'm afraid this could dominate your segment, and there's a lot of things I want to get to. But I want to talk big picture here with the playoff expansion. and kind of these power conferences emerging. And Phil, you can stop me at any time. You can disagree, agree, and maybe I'm hearing what I want to hear, right? But for 2 years now, Trev has talked about positioning themselves in the Big Ten, right? Payouts, structure, wanting to be a valuable commodity. He said on Husker Radio Network, and everybody was like, he intimated, all but said, conference expansion is not done. What he's tried to do with NIL and whether it goes in-house or not. Are you seeing the direction that this is going with the Power 2, maybe a Power 3, and how they're already positioning themselves so they don't have to potentially get this into courts if there can be an agreement amongst the infrastructure? Because it seems like the quiet part is these other conferences seem to be conceding. I'm like, this is really happening. It looks like a power move to like be its own, to be a new continent, right? Like this is a real tangible thing.
Yeah, I don't think of all people, I don't think Trev has not attempted to hide in any way what he sees as far as what's going on. I mean, he's upfront about the fact that Nebraska, his job has been to put Nebraska in the right place. And that's within the Big Ten, as the Big Ten consolidates power, is a part of the consolidation of power in college football. So the league has leverage, and it's not afraid to use that leverage. There's no secrets here. It's not like this is something that's going on, it is behind closed doors, like it literally behind closed doors, but figuratively, it's happening in front of all of us. Like the Big Ten went out and hired Tony Petitti. There was no secret there. Like they're hiring Tony Petitti because he's been an executive in television and has more experience than anyone they're going to get in that spot to be able to position the Big Ten to just make more money and earn more money and gain more power, and then put its schools, the presidents of these schools who chose him so he could sit at the negotiating table and position the Big Ten to be the most powerful conference in college sports, or one of the two most powerful conferences in college sports with the SEC, and partner with the SEC to basically bully everyone into doing what the Big Ten wants and what suits the Big Ten the best. So I guess I don't mind the fact that they're just upfront about it. Like, this is what's happening. I mean, I don't think anybody should act like it's a surprise that the Big Ten and the SEC are using the leverage that everyone has known and has seen for years now that they are gathering.
We're talking with Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, so I mean, the threat here, right, is that the Big Ten and SEC just goes off on their own, right? And that they take their money with them, and the ACC and Big 12 are better off having a smaller piece of the pie than being cut out completely, right? Like that's the leverage play they're threatening.
Yeah, the leverage is that they can do whatever they want because they have so much authority and so much power, and they can just declare that they're forming an alliance, and that the powers in college football will have to listen to them because they've got so many of the name brands within their group. So whether that is a threat that they're going to go off on their own, or it's just a threat that they're going to make everybody come along for the ride and keep them along, but say, okay, well, you don't get the first round buys, or you don't get the same amount of automatic bids, or whatever other criteria they decide to come up with down the road that keeps schools that aren't in the Big Ten and the SEC at arm's length. I suppose that's the threat. I don't know that it means they're going to go off and form a separate chapter, a separate group, and exclude everyone else. At this point, I don't think that is in the best interest of even the schools within those two conferences. But Maybe down the road it will be if they continue to rise above and separate themselves in terms of the financial power and competitive balance within the sport.
Mitch, so you mentioned kind of the conference powers and things like that. With the agreements, quote unquote, that have been in place for both the structure of the 12 team and sort of the speculation about what a 14 or 16 team might look like, are you inclined to believe that Notre Dame sooner rather than later ends up being a part of a conference? Because they've signed off on some things that if they plan to stay independent, don't make a whole lot of sense for them.
I think that's part of the leverage. And that's part of the leverage that the power play that these two conferences are embarking on right now is, there's a number of things that they're trying to get done. And, Petiti and Greg Sankey can go into a closed session and discuss, what are their priorities. And one of those priorities is to make Notre Dame come on board. And the way that they've structured some of these proposals would have you believe that they're trying to put pressure on Notre Dame, say, hey, you're never going to get a first round bye. We're going to make it more difficult for you to even get in the playoff. You're probably going to have to go through the regular season undefeated or with one loss just in order to get consideration, because these teams that are in conferences, especially if you're in one of these two major conferences, you're going to have a significant advantage, not only on getting selected, but then you're going to get treated better once you get in the door and get in the playoffs. So Notre Dame could say, hey, forget that. We're going to keep playing our game, keep doing what we're doing. We're going to be independent. We'll make it work. Or they can make life easier on themselves and potentially make a lot more money by coming on and joining one of the two major leagues. Who knows? I mean, that opportunity is certainly there for them now. It may not be 5-7 years from now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I floated this to Ravi last week when he's like, gosh, with this vote, it needed to be unanimous, and Notre Dame voted. They're basically, in essence, saying we're cool with a 6 seed, right? And I'm like, they're going to be in a conference. And I went back, just laughs and giggles. I looked at their schedule. Like, they're on paper, their toughest opponent next year is probably Louisville. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how this would play like in an isolated situation without being aligned in a conference going forward for a team like Notre Dame. Like, there has to be another ace in the,
there's got to be another shooter.
There's got to be another something in their sleeve for this to be happening.
Well, the whole model of college football is becoming like a professional sport. Obviously, I don't need to tell you that. So imagine if there was an organization in the NFL or, in the English Premier League, which I'm not an expert on, but I hear from my colleagues that college football is starting to look more like European soccer, or specifically the EPL, than any other structure out there. So if there was one power team within one of those leagues, like let's just say the NFL, because I know that landscape better, and they said, well, we don't want to be a part of the AFC or the NFC. We're just going to be separate. Like, that wouldn't work. You can't do that. And Notre Dame can do it now and maybe for the next couple of years, but at some point you're going to have to conform and you're going to have to jump on board with the the structure in place that the Big Ten and the SEC are essentially building.
Okay, that's good. So going forward, let's say obviously this is right. It's unfolding right between our eyes. Are the individual schools within the conference going to have to figure out how they're going to play their other respective sports, or are all sports going to be in the deal across the board with this philosophy?
I think ultimately football is just a different setup. I could see, and this is just how I see it today. It could be completely wrong in 3 years or 5 years, but I don't think it's best for basketball and all the other sports to follow the lead of football and follow this model. What works for football doesn't necessarily work for the other sports. And we're definitely already seeing that with the way that conference expansion and realignment has worked. It doesn't work best for field hockey when Stanford is in the ACC, or even when Oregon is in the Big Ten, or when West Virginia is in the Big 12. And I understand that all of those schools don't sponsor field hockey. You know what I mean? Baseball,
Yeah.
volleyball. It just doesn't work best. So I think at some point, football, the pro model of college football that we're seeing, is going to have to be a different organization. It's already under different leadership when it comes to the postseason, and that's where the money is made. So it's, to me, it's inevitable that it breaks off and it separates, and there's a different structure, a different landscape. The way that schedules are made and teams are aligned are different in the sport of football than they are in all of the other sports. We probably see something similar to what exists now, or even what existed a generation ago. I mean, you could go back to like the Big 8 setup for sports other than football. Let's take conference realignment and put it in rewind, and then use that system for your basketball and everything on down the revenue list, and just let football continue to go where it's going to go.
It just seems like these ADs and presidents are jockeying behind the scenes just to keep this thing from going to court, right? Like they're working way ahead of us. But and I knew this was going to happen. This is what happens when you ask smart people questions. I'm going to ask one more about this, and then I'm going to try to get off in case people don't want to. So with regards to kind of this model and the way that it's going, and I don't want my pound of flesh, but I was a big I was very anti-expansion without, excuse me, uniformity amongst the conferences. Like I felt like potentially this was going to be a recipe for disaster. And people were like, DB, you're anti-expansion. I said, no, I'm anti-getting to play by your own rules, right? You're just letting anybody into the dance without a certain kind of dress code. It's going to be anarchy. If it would have gone the way that I wanted to, would I just have been prolonging the inevitable, or would there be more of an opportunity for the SEC and the Big Ten to not be as big of bullies as they're coming across now?
If we hadn't gone down this road with conference expansion,
if we just would have had a little more uniformity within the conferences before we started talking expansion.
Okay.
Would it have just slowed down would I just prolong the inevitable, or maybe could we have avoided some of this?
I don't know that there was any way to avoid this. I think it was. I'm in the camp that it was inevitable, because these conferences and the universities behind the decisions, the presidents, the people who sit on those meetings and select the conference commissioners that they want to go to the bargaining table, they were always going to do what was going to make them the most money. It's as simple as follow the money on really all of these decisions that have been made about expansion and the playoff and the future of college football. So I think it was inevitable that we were going to get to some version of this place that we are now. I don't know that there's anything that could have stopped it. If you had uniformity within the conference and everybody had the same number of teams and the same kind of league schedule.
Conference games and league schedule. Right?
Yeah, schedule is what I was thinking. That's where the uniformity doesn't exist right now between the Big Ten and the SEC. And probably different conversation, but they're going to have to get on the same page. If these two leagues are going to be in lockstep and run the whole show, well, they can't have different structures. What if maybe it's baseball's a bad example because there hasn't always been uniformity between the National League and the American League. But what if in football the NFC played a different number of division games than the AFC? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think whenever the next time arrives,
though, you're right, because that is why the DH is
right. And I started to say baseball, and then I realized that was going to sound.
But that's
very
pretty
dumb.
good. That's
That's the equivalent of what we're dealing with here. And look, it's gone now. So they had to eventually go to uniformity in baseball. I think it'll happen a lot sooner. We're not going to go down a road where the opposite of uniformity exists in college football for nearly as long as it did in Major League Baseball.
We're talking with Mitch Sherman of The Athletic. Got a few minutes left here with you, Mitch. A question that DB and I were tossing around yesterday was kind of surrounding this level of trust that the fan base has in Matt Rhule and whether or not that trust would extend to someone else besides Dylan Raiola starting at quarterback on August 31st. How do you look at that situation? Because right now, Rhule can basically do no wrong. Mm-hmm. If somebody besides DR walks out there on August 31st, how long do you think that attitude prevails?
As long as they stay undefeated.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, that's the answer, but
it depends
it's
what
also,
it looks like, right? Yeah,
it's right. It's also what does it look like, and who is that quarterback? Is that quarterback in the program right now? Because then you have to ask yourself, well, what was the scenario that led to someone other than Dylan Raiola being the starting quarterback in week 1? Is it because of an injury? What happened? And if it's something out of your control, like an injury, then you have to adjust. And, maybe Nebraska would have to look in the portal. And if you find a guy there, then okay. And, I think I could see the fan base still having confidence in the coach to work with what he has. But it would be a different feeling. It'd be a different vibe around Lincoln if that were to happen. On a much larger scale, like similar to what's going on with Ronda Ravel and Nebraska softball. That's the kind of excitement that exists for Nebraska football with Dylan Raiola. It's like he's the, Jordy Ball. In Dylan Raiola. There's some parallels there. Imagine if Dylan, got hurt one series into the first game of the year, and just what a giant letdown that would be. And I understand that, one of these two athletes is way more accomplished at the college level than the other, but that doesn't change the fact that the
fandom is fandom.
Similar amount of hype exists around both of them. So,
Mitch, could you just knock on some wood there when you
I
say
did.
that?
I got it right here.
I tapped on my head because, and what prompted the question was, it's like, well, we say we trust him. So what if something
But do we really?
Yeah. Because I said, I don't know. I don't know if that would move my needle if Raiola didn't start and Ravi immediately goes, well, that's the coaching you because the fan base would be pissed.
Oh, the fan base would lose their minds, right? Like fan base would lose.
Well, I thought we said we trusted it.
Well,
if they
prompted the question.
Like, let's say Heinrich Harburger or Danny Kaler
wins the job.
Just beat him out.
Wins the job. I think that would shake the confidence of Husker Nation a little bit. Like what have we been talking about? What have we been losing our minds over for the last 16 months when it comes to Dylan Raiola? If he's not actually the guy to go out there and take the first snap, it would take an adjustment of attitude. But again, it's all going to come down to what it looks like on the field.
Mitch, your range never, ever, ever disappoints.
That's Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, we appreciate it as always. And, I'm sure we can get into your Derek Jeter apologism later.
Stop it.
But we appreciate your time.
Get him, Mitch.
Thanks, guys.
That's Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Mike Sautter here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, if you were watching last night, you could have seen the Omaha Supernovas beat the Atlanta Vibe 3-0 in their match. That was broadcast on YouTube. If you want to see them live, though, and in person, make sure you get to supernovas.com for their next home match Thursday, March 14th at CHI Health Center, 7 p.m. against those same Atlanta Vibe. Get to supernovas.com for schedule, tickets, merchandise, and everything else. That's supernovas.com. Joining us now on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline is our guy, Mike Sautter. Not in person and at a weird time because he's busy today. What's up, Mike?
Did you know that you can buy regular season or single match tickets at Omaha at supernovas.com?
I did know that. Thank you for reminding me, though. That's terrific to know.
Jerome, good morning, man. You're as surly with Ravi as you were with me. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm great. I had like an adult breakfast this morning.
Did you go down to the lobby?
Yeah, it was fantastic, by the way.
What was your protein of choice?
Eggs and sausage links and breakfast potatoes, coffee, orange juice, water.
You a Lynx or a Patty guy?
Link.
Yeah, figures.
Link.
Figures. That's why
Not a big breakfast potato guy.
That's why I keep you out of the circle,
I
man.
need hash browns over a breakfast potato.
Can't trust a guy that'll take Lynx over patties.
What's wrong with that? I didn't know there was like a thing. Does that mean I'm some type of way? Or
yes, that means you're the guy that cussed at me 60 seconds into our phone conversation this morning.
Did I?
You see, it's just so free flowing, you don't even realize it.
Yeah, if you've ever had a real conversation with me, you're getting an F at some point.
Oh, a lot of them probably.
Hey, there's a couple of doozies today. If you're an A and B.
Mm-hmm.
B, you get your palate wet a little early, at least with the 1 o'clock tip. A is later on, but cream is definitely rising in the top 2 classes, huh?
Yeah, it's Elkhorn North got a little scare from Scottsbluff yesterday, and then Brett Prince decided to almost have a triple double, and she was like, "Okay, time to quit messing around. Let's go." So that's what happened there. Gretna East played really well, right? I think that Class A schedule certainly
helped
got them ready. Yeah, certainly helped them. And then Beatrice last night kind of just hung on to upset Norris, I guess I would say. Well, okay, it's an upset by seed, but they played each other and were 1-1 this year, so not that big of a deal. And then Scott just rolled. Holy cow! Like running clock in state tournament game, that doesn't happen very often. So yeah, B's going to be fun. Scott, Gretna East, and then Elkhorn North and Beatrice are the semis this afternoon. And I think everyone before the season started had Scott and Elkhorn North in the final again, and looks like that's probably what's going to happen again.
A is going to be pretty tough as well. And I asked Maya what the secret was behind Millard West. They obviously have a gaudy record, and she said the difference for them and most of the schools that they're playing is their backcourt holds up physically, right? You agree with that?
Yeah. Also, I would say Pavin is kind of the key there. The Gessert sisters, twins, get all the love, and rightfully so. They're great shooters and all that stuff. But Pavin is great. And then when you talk about backcourt, Taylor Hansen is kind of a key. She doesn't score a lot of points, but she does like the dirty work, physical stuff that people don't really want to see. So that is.
I just don't know if you can. It's the same in the girls' game. It's like if your guards can't physically hold up to pressure, it gets tough on you in a hurry, no matter how well you shoot it.
Right, and I will say this: Gessert's they're pretty physical and tough. They held up pretty well against a very physical Central team the other night. So they kind of get knocked a little bit, like, oh, they're just shooters. No, they're a lot more than that.
That's what she was saying. She's like physically, they're different.
Is Maya babysitting today, or was that just on Monday?
She was with her little brother. I would not call that babysitting. And I will let you take that up with Micah. Okay. Yeah. The two of them went to go watch Millard North boys.
Yeah.
She had to drive him and make sure that he was okay. I would call that maybe babysitting.
Yeah, Micah is definitely team Mossers. So she's close with Neil, and then Sam and Mitch, the parents, came to watch Westside on Tuesday. So I think it's still cool to have friends that are at other schools, right? Like I cheer for a lot of kids we end up playing against. So I'm team Mosser.
Okay. I like how you
it wasn't babysitting. I was just telling you why. She did have to come scoop him.
Trying to start trouble over here.
Well, he's still mad at Sautter over that. He's still mad.
Yeah, Micah strikes me as a guy that keeps a grudge.
Oh, definite receipt keeper.
Yeah.
Hey, when Ravi, when I told him when they were together, I looked at Maya and I said, "Hey, you babysitting?" Micah gave me the biggest death stare. It was like, I'm gonna F word kill you.
Hey, so with the boys' seedings, were there any surprises for you in terms of you look at it on paper and you're like, okay, I could see that. There's some good players not playing in the state tournament this year on the boys' side.
Yeah, like Amari Bynum.
Well, yeah,
it's a good start.
That's
pretty good.
It's a good start.
But is basketball that's interesting, right? So is basketball a sport where one or two guys and should be able to carry? Because I think it's hard to win with Scout.
No, yeah, it's not. And also their draw, when you talk about Brian, they had that bump in the road this year, right in the middle of the year. Their guard play was just not good. So I was gonna say not great. No, it really was not good. Like flat out, not good enough at all. So that doesn't quite get it done. I know you look at A and Prep gets in as a wild card. That's pretty dangerous, right? I don't know if I want to play them first round. And Gretna gets in that game. Let me tell you, that game on Tuesday night in Gretna was probably one of the best high school atmospheres. And
you're talking about Kearney
and all that. Yeah, in Kearney. Yeah, Gretna Kearney game. That it was tremendous. The respect from both teams.
They have a sweet environment. It's they have a great open. The bleachers are crazy because they're extremely steep, right? Like if you blink, you could
gonna fall.
Slip and bust your hand wide open at car. So move around with your own call at your own call. No, it is it's steep, man. It's a heck of an environment.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then, Ben Johnson fires one up from half court, and I'm telling you, it was inches away from going in. It hit the side of the rim. It was long enough. It just missed by a little bit of a Brad Feakin wind blow breeze in the air or something.
Jacob said yesterday, he pulls no punches. He said Southeast Prep was just bad basketball.
Awful.
Okay, there's the double down.
Yeah.
But Southeast, surprisingly, that's one of West Side's losses, right? They lost to the other big two, but Southeast got them on a sleepy night in Lincoln. Is Southeast dangerous?
Yeah, they're dangerous because Tay Moore's had a heck of a year, like really good year, good guard and tough.
I can already tell you who's drawing that assignment, but and he loves giving it to West Side.
Yeah, he Tay's good, but Jake Higgleman is the kind of X factor for them. Remember,
he's tough. 2 years
ago,
he's tough.
We were talking about that guy a lot a couple of years ago, and then we just forgot about him, and now boom, he hits the game-winning shot, and adults run out to the court to join the dog pile, which is odd.
Totally normal.
Yeah, totally normal.
Everybody was so mad about that. I did not watch through because we had it mirrored. I didn't pay much attention to that, but apparently that was a thing.
It was weird. It was really weird.
Better or worse than dogpiling directly on the opponent's bench?
And let me tell you, the self-control those Prep kids had,
oh man,
a lot of places someone's getting kicked in the head.
As a 17-year-old, I would not have been emotionally mature enough.
Hilkeman, he's going to let you know too.
To do something to deal with that. Sautter, we appreciate it. Have fun in Lincoln, and we'll talk to you next week. Hopefully, we can get you for a little bit longer as you navigate the boys' schedule next week.
Be safe with any court storming, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Thoughts and prayers from Kyle Filipowski to Mike Sautter.
Wow.
As we wrap up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline by your head coach of the Creighton men's basketball team, Greg McDermott. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Good morning, guys.
Coach, how are you? I got to start by saying thank you. You and your team signed a lot of gear that's going to be used in my niece's music bingo auction on Sunday, man. So I and Byron and Jill and the rest of the family, we really appreciate you being clutch, man. You're a man of your word. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to help.
Coach, let's start off here. There's obviously tomorrow's senior night, right? And so you've got some guys walking, some guys not that are, you've got a lot of guys with opportunities to either come back or go. I know you've been through this a lot, whether it's going all the way back to Doug or, Tyshawn and Marcus and everybody in between, or even the guys last year. How much has that conversation with those guys changed in the light of the fact that it's not, hey, you can either go make money or you can stay in school? It's, hey, you can maybe stay in school and make some money or see what the next part of your life holds. How much has that conversation changed between you and those guys as they're trying to make those decisions?
Yeah, I mean those conversations happen after the season, not during. It's the last thing I want them thinking about right now. I want them to enjoy the rest of the season. I want them to prepare to play, the best version of Creighton basketball. So, we've never had an underclassman speak. Even back, as you mentioned, to Doug his junior year when it sure looked like he was going to the NBA, and we've just stuck with that. Tomorrow, Bello and Baylor and Kalk, we'll address the crowd, and then when the season's over, for Trey and Ryan, we'll help them the best we can through that process, and in the end, they'll make a decision that they think is in their best interest.
Coach, it's interesting. You seem always so even keeled, but does one situation play to your strengths more than the other with your personality? Do you like the team that's kind of being hunted? Do you like being the hunters? Do you like kind of the more mature team that you brought back? Everybody's got some unique challenges when you have goals in mind. Is there a style that plays to your demeanor one way more than another?
We've really been the hunted now for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
3 years ago when R2 and Trey and Art were freshmen and Ryan Hawkins came in and Kalk was moving into his sophomore year. That team was, I don't know what we were picked 8th or 9th in the league, and they really did a great job and played their best basketball at the end. But really since then, for the most part, outside of a couple of hiccups here and there, we've pretty much been ranked in the top 25 for the last 2 years. So you're always hunted, and it takes maturity to understand how to deal with that. And I think last year's team, when we hit the skids with that 6-game losing streak, I think we learned a lot about ourselves and about preparation and how you're going to get everyone's best shot. And I think that's really helped the leadership of this team. We really haven't had a sustained period where we haven't played well this year. There's been bumps in the road like there has been for almost every team in the country. But the leadership of Trey and Baylor and Kalk and now Stephen Ashworth has been outstanding. We like to approach, as you said, I think even keel's the best way in sports. You don't want to rely on emotion to get the job done. You have to rely on execution. And anytime emotion gets in the way of that, then you're asking for trouble. So that's why we as coaches and players, we can't overreact to a loss. And fans and media want to do that, and they think the sky's falling. What the heck happened? It happens in sports. And by the same token, we're not going to pat ourselves on the back very long when we have a great win, because the next game is in front of you.
Coach, I've thought a lot about how last year you obviously had a ton of high expectations, top 10 preseason. You had pretty much, you had a ton of guys coming back. This year, the expectations and the preseason rankings were very similar, but you were replacing a couple of pretty key pieces, obviously, with R2 and Art. Internally, how much work did you think you needed to do from where people thought you were to where you knew you ended up wanting to be?
You don't know what you don't know. And, we brought in Stephen Ashworth, and I continue to believe that he was the perfect fit and the best fit for this particular team. And then you had the dynamic at the 4 spot with Mason and Isaac and Jason. And then, we had Jason's injury. And so that's changed during the course of the year. But, it took us a while. And I just think transfers, you look at what Baylor's doing this year in his second year compared to the first year. Mm-hmm. And, Stephen Ashworth's second half of the season compared to first half of the season. there's just a comfort level with playing with guys and understanding the system, trying to fit in with a group that was pretty well established. That's not easy to do. And so it takes a little bit of time. And I think, we've had a few bumps because of that. But I feel like we're trending where I want us to be trending towards the end of the season. Now, could it all end in a fiery crash? Absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty of the NCAA tournament. When you get to that point, it becomes about matchups and, hoping, you're at your best when that time comes.
Coach, it's such a fascinating watch over just your evolution watching this program. So good defensively, and everybody will always talk about your offensive prowess, and I get that too. But good rim protection, good defensive field goal percentage. You can you take away number one options a ton. You don't foul, but you also don't turn teams over a ton either for as good as you are defensively. What's in the secret sauce? Right? Do you have to be a team that commits more fouls to turn teams over more? But because you sure do play good defense regardless.
Yeah, I mean, turnovers obviously if you're ultra aggressive, and we're going to see a team like that tomorrow in Marquette.
Yeah.
That they're trying to turn you over, and with that comes some mistakes. With it comes, at times you can rack up some fouls. And we're of the belief, because of how we build our roster, that taking a difficult shot to me is every bit as good as a turnover. As long as you're not getting the shots that you want, and you got you got to get a rebound and all that stuff. But our roster, I don't think, is really built, if you look at our individual pieces, to get out and pressure and deny and full court press. It's probably just not in the DNA of what we've brought in. And how we built this team. We built this team on we'll bend, but we won't break. And there's a lot of analytics games you can try to win. You can't try to win them all. While we don't get to the free throw line a lot, we get to the free throw line more than our opponent because we don't put them there. Yeah. So all of a sudden, if you're a team that isn't built to get to the rim necessarily and get to the free throw line a bunch, then you better not be putting your opponent there 25 times a game, or you're fighting an uphill battle. So, we've kind of picked and chosen what analytic games that we want to win. And, shot selection certainly one of them, and that free throw battle is a big one to us as well.
Coach, you mentioned something after the UConn game in the press conference about how that moment was led to by a bunch of people over a long time that led Creighton to being in that position to be able to win a game like that. And I kind of wondered to myself, I've rooted for Creighton for my whole life, or as long as I can remember at least. And I'm very aware of how different the program is and how elevated the program has become, especially over the last 10 years or so. Is that something like in off seasons, or that you ever kind of think about and look back and go, man, this is a really different place that we're in now than you were when you took this job?
Yeah, and I think fans and obviously I was coaching at North Dakota and then Wayne State when Dana got here. But if you would have told somebody at Dana Altman's press conference in the early 90s or whenever the heck he got here, in 2024 we're going to beat the number one team in the country in front of 18,500 people. People would have thought you've absolutely lost your mind.
Yeah.
So when I made that statement, it's not just the guys that have played for me, but it's what Dana did to elevate the program, to get it to a national level, all the work that Bruce and the people that have worked with him, and then the presidents that have supported it. Father Slagle and Father Lannon, and now Father Hendrickson, and then Marcus Blossom replacing Bruce. So there's a lot of people that have gone to work to make sure that we have the resources necessary to have a successful program. And at the end of the day, it's about the players. Dana had some really good guys play for him, and I've had some really good guys play for me. And, and there's been stability in the program with Dana being here, 16 years, and now me, wrapping up year number 14. And that doesn't happen much in this sport as well.
Coach, you don't strike me as a statement game kind of guy, but you get a big one tomorrow. the crowd will be extra charged, I think, for a number of reasons. Is there anything that you're looking for in particular outside of, hey, you know what, you always want the win, but is there a style as you get to tomorrow against a team that's been tough on you?
Yeah, in reviewing the game we played, it seems like forever, but it has been 2 months since we played Marquette. We had some decent looks at the basket. I thought we did some good things on both ends of the floor, but we really struggled on the defensive glass. They got too many second opportunities, and we turned it over too much. And those are the two areas that we have to clean up tomorrow if we expect to be successful. And we've developed a great rivalry with Marquette. I think there's a lot of Omaha people that end up going to Marquette, and I think some Milwaukee folks that go to Jesuit schools in Milwaukee end up over here at Creighton. So it's a great rivalry, and obviously it's two of the top 10 or 12 teams in the country. So I think that place will have a lot of juice tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck tomorrow and through the rest of the season. Hopefully we can get a chance to catch up again soon.
Thanks, Coach.
Always great to talk to you. Take care, guys.
That's Coach Greg McDermott. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're now on KFOR in Lincoln as well. STB, I'm Ravi Lulla. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We're also live at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, where you need to come and get ready for a game-changing experience at Omaha's premier sports bar. They're now hiring at the La Vista location and the Gretna location for all positions. If you haven't heard, it's more than just a sports bar. They've got elevated pub fare, handcrafted pizzas, a diverse range of craft spirits and classic cocktails, live events and shows. There's something for everyone at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. As I mentioned, currently hiring for all positions at both locations, and it's time for you to be part of the excitement. Visit in person today and tomorrow. It's the end of the open hiring that they're doing today and tomorrow between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. at the Gretna location for on-the-spot interviews and hiring, or you can visit hurrdatsportsbar.com/careers to apply. Make every game day unforgettable at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, where sports, food, fun, and live entertainment come together. Thank you once again to Coach McDermott for joining us. We really appreciate him taking the time this morning. Good conversation with him. If you missed it, you can check out the podcasts on Apple, Spotify, all the other places where people get podcasts.
So was it just a one-game suspension for the Blue Crew?
I heard it was the rest of the season.
What?
I mean, it's only 2 games, but rest of the season versus 1 game is only an extra game. But I don't know. That's what the random Twitter accounts were reporting. I don't know for sure.
Man, that place will be juiced tomorrow.
Regardless. It better be. It needs to be.
It will be.
They don't like Shaka much.
No, I know. How about Kim just blasting me with the Shaka Smart reference?
That's rude. It's rude and it's uncalled for. Kim.
Does she know what a disdain you have for Shaka Smart?
I imagine she has a very similar disdain.
And it's
let's get over that.
Exactly. And it's not sleeves under a polo.
It's also not the problem with him is his sleeves and polo are also overly baggy. So it looks like he's just like borrowing his dad's clothes.
Sorry.
And then he gets into a stance and tries to play defense on the other team. So that's the other problem that we have with Shaka. Okay,
we're not playing with desperation.
Lots of problems.
Will
with
you
Shaka.
be satisfied tomorrow if Shaka gets a technical?
I'll be satisfied.
Will you feel vindicated?
Oh no, I'll be satisfied if they just boot him. Just say, hey, you don't get to be here anymore.
Just go have Coach Mack just mosey on down and stand next to him.
Yeah, just be like, you got to go, bud.
Just don't say a word. Just go hang out in the general vicinity.
Remind him that Coach Mack is 6'10" and he's about 5'11".
Yeah. Was it the broadcast? Was it last night or the last time out or the other night? They were referencing Coach Mack's height, and you really don't.
You forget about it.
You don't think about it until you're standing next to him.
He's a big dude. They asked him on he was on a podcast the other day. I can't remember which one. And they asked him if he could still dunk because he dunked at 50, and that was and he's pushing 60 now. And he goes, if we win a national title, I'll try and dunk again.
So I remember. So who's the guy that does it every year on his birthday? Is it Marcus Johnson?
Maybe.
I think it's Marcus Johnson who turns 64, 65, maybe.
Yeah, he's a little ahead of Mac.
Who dunks it every year on his birthday.
Yeah,
and he's still doing it.
That's aggressive.
This was up until last year. I'm pretty sure it's Marcus Johnson.
Dr. J was doing it for a while too. Dr. J was dunking pretty deep into the years as well there. So
if you want to talk overrate, no, I'm kidding.
Okay,
I'm not doing it.
Let's do it.
I'm not. No. Lighten your fuse again.
DB here.
You already got on me about Jeter and small ball, and so that.
Would Severe call you about that too?
That already put me in a bad mood.
DB here for Dr. J being overrated.
Stop it. That'll definitely get a call out of Michigan Lance. He loves Dr. J.
Wanted to
y'all making moves out here.
Wanted to get back to something we were talking about with Mitch in terms of the potential realignment that we're kind of reading the tea leaves on here.
It's a bigger deal than people think.
So you mentioned that off air. You go, hey, I'm worried about something with the SEC and Big Ten kind of trying to bully everybody else.
Yeah.
Because that sort of looks like what they're doing. It looks like they're doing a leverage play here. And so what is your concern?
Well, I think, number one, so here's the deal. Just because you ever been a part of something that you seem like was a really, really good idea, and then you look around and as it evolves, it's going to be at your expense too?
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Like you're riding the wave at first, and then you're like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
At some point, this may get to me.
For sure.
Same thing that happened over here, right?
For sure.
Trev said something last year, and it stuck with me.
Okay.
He said, and I think we kind of overlooked it. I think he was talking to Jessica and Greg one night on Husker Sports Nightly, and he talked about positioning Nebraska well so they had a seat at the table.
Okay.
And he was talking about, teams being in the Big Ten, teams not being in the Big Ten, and we were kind of floating around this water cooler talk of them asking teams to leave the Big Ten. Now, while I don't think Nebraska would ever be asked to leave a conference, I could foresee a situation, because why else? He's always talking about positioning Nebraska. Just listen to him.
Yeah.
And maybe I hear the things that I want to hear, but I don't think I'm dumb. And I think it's intentional. And Mitch reiterated it when he said, Trev is basically telling you if you just listen. So that gassed me up a little bit. Like, see, I'm telling you, like, because let's hypothetically here.
Yeah, let's play it out.
What's to stop? And maybe Nebraska would not be in this conversation. I don't know. I think the brand is too strong, as is the revenue, but you can't lose forever.
Sure.
Although we're giving it our best shot to push the envelope,
doing our darndest to see how long
fan base and the revenue has not let us down yet. Neither has the television eyeballs. So thank you, sweet baby Jesus. What's to say that even the power brokers at the top?
Thank you, dear baby Jesus.
Exactly. Michael Jerome Sautter. His middle name's not really Jerome. He just acts like a Jerome. What's to say, like, hey, you know what? Gosh, I'm Ohio State. I'm Michigan. I can't foresee SC being in this spot, but maybe Oregon. What's to stop them from now taking it one step further and getting into payouts?
Like the payouts aren't even across the conference?
Within the conference.
Yeah.
What if they start tiering that bad boy?
Well, because here's I think what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So right now, the leverage play is Big Ten and SEC against the rest of the world, right? Yeah. What if once that leverage plays itself out,
that the leverage play
becomes
moves to within conference?
Ohio State and Michigan versus Rutgers and Northwestern, or USC and Oregon against Nebraska and Iowa, right? Like, so you're asking, basically, congratulations, you've discovered capitalism.
That's what this is, though.
Right. No, that's what you're talking about, though, is
when
the greed of what you're doing now no longer suffices.
And if it's truly survival of the fittest,
the next thing.
Yeah. If it's truly survival of the fittest.
Now here's
where does the buck stop?
Well, the buck stops when the people who are chasing the money don't realize that next chase actually sabotages them long term. Right. So, I don't know when that is. I don't know if that's the leverage play right now that we're seeing that will sabotage college football long term. I don't know if that's.
I kind of feel like a hypochondriac that always thinks that they're hurt. But
yeah, but then COVID happens and the entire world gets.
But
sick.
I do feel like if you tap me on the shoulder in 4 years and I hadn't at least given this some thought, and
You
it
feel bad
snuck
for
up on
missing
me.
something.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, my brother, who I love dearly, is obsessive about germs, right? Nobody was more prepared for COVID than he was because he already did all the things that they were telling you to do with the hand washing and the sanitizing and staying away from people. And I've got, at the minute he gets a runny nose or a cough, he quarantines from people.
I didn't have any problems during COVID.
That's what I mean. You don't like being around people anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? So, but the people that are thinking about these things before they happen are the ones best positioned to deal with them once they do.
Doesn't it seem like, I mean, let's just go back and kind of recall as best you can some of these sit downs that Trev has had.
Okay.
He's pretty much foreshadowed this.
Yes. But I can make the argument, right, that in this situation, he's the germaphobe. He's my brother who's prepared for the thing once it happens. That's the best case scenario if you're Nebraska, is you have a guy in charge who is already washing his hands all the time and already socially distancing and already doing all the things so that Nebraska doesn't get sick. You can make the argument that Trev is in that position already because he's thought about
positioning them from a fiscal standpoint
and
the
positioning
marketability. It still has to be a viable entity.
It has to be a viable product.
A commodity.
It has to be a desirable
that people
product.
want to consume.
Absolutely. But you can make sure that you're in a place to survive. You can make yourself recession proof, more or less, right? By making
I like that term a little bit because I understand it. Economics is a smidge.
Right. So you're making your program, and that's what Nebraska, even for their faults and even for the missteps of previous leadership, Nebraska has been recession proof because the market has desired the product still, even when the product hasn't been very good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if you can put yourself in a position to be desirable by the market, even when, like, let's say Apple puts out a bad product, right? Let's say they put out an iPhone 29 and...
Is that what they're on?
No, they're not. I just picked a number.
Oh.
Let's say this one, for some reason...
15, I believe.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was projecting a little bit here, Shane. Let's say for some reason that version of the phone, terrible. Nobody likes it. They tried a new feature. Everybody hates. They tried to update their operating system. Everybody hates it. Apple has put itself in a place with the way they run their brand and their company that they can survive a misstep. That's what Trev is trying to do, because Trev can't directly control the product. He can hire the right product engineers and hire the right programmers and stuff like that to try and make sure he gets the best product.
Like, couldn't you foresee a deal where cannibalism happens
100%
within the conferences?
Because greed knows no bounds.
That's my pause for concern.
And it should be concerning. What you have to do, we were talking about trust earlier. What you have to do is trust that. It seems like Trev sees that. It seems like he's reading the tea leaves and saying, this is a possibility. How does Nebraska position itself to be on the predator, not the prey?
You know what further fosters my paranoia?
What's that?
The whole... So I think Jim Delaney's model of the 9 conference games and the television inventory and, wanting Indiana and Illinois as football programs and Northwestern, like he was willing to sacrifice positioning a couple of big dogs at the top for parity
in conference,
right? Bringing the bottom closer to the middle. That's closer to socialism.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to stay with the capitalism thing, it all of a sudden, like post-COVID, right? And you've got to recoup some revenue. There's some budget shortfalls. The have and have-nots are kind of starting to separate in terms of these athletic ledgers.
Especially with NIL, and there's, it's more than just, hey, did you build new facilities? It's, hey, can you empower your
did you ever think
alums?
you were going to be having a conversation where UCLA couldn't compete from an NIL standpoint with another institution? I mean, it's UCLA, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
Right?
But they're broke.
It's a real conversation.
Yeah, they're broke.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that fosters my, okay.
That Deshaun fosters?
There You're starting to act like my enemy here, so get your act together.
Deshaun Foster's the people.
It's like, okay, I'm either super paranoid or I want to be super well prepared.
Yeah.
And I hope that this doesn't sneak up on us, because right now you can't really convince me that this is a good idea, even if in the short term Nebraska's on the gravy train. Like, I'm a little reluctant to him. Now, I hope I'm.
Is it because at the end of the day, you think when this continues to happen, at some point Nebraska doesn't make the cut? Is that the concern?
You have to win sooner rather than later.
Right, but let's say even if they do win, right?
I don't know if I ever think. So it's two things can be true at once, right? Who's the first one to always tell you, thank goodness for the fan base and to be appreciative of the support? Because I know that level of importance. We can't. I just talked to the boss the other day when he came to Westside. Like, his level of appreciation for the Go Big Red project and the Dow, like, just his wherewithal of what's going on around
the
him.
Unwavering commitment of the fan base
is not to be taken for granted.
And it's not normal.
I told you last week, it's irrational.
Yeah, it is.
When Coach Hoiberg,
in the best possible way, it is irrational.
When Coach Hoiberg was talking about the fan base and them supporting, and Will Compton was like, why wouldn't you come to Nebraska? Like, let's be honest, like, this place is ridiculous. When Coach Rule says we have to guard against this thing being like Disneyland, we need to be on point. We need his reverence for putting a product out there that they can rally around. Like, it's all but the single greatest variable is human behavior.
Yeah.
So do I think that one day Nebraska's fan base will be like, God, you know what?
We're over it.
I think I've had enough. Now, they bluffed long enough. Like, I've heard from the vocal minority, oh, they're not getting another. Now, is that really going to happen? I don't know. I mean, maybe some people have fallen off, but you do have to get younger. Right? You're going to have to turn the fan base over. You're going to have to turn the donors over.
In order to do that, you have to start winning.
Yes.
Because
that's kind of, and it's a weird thing to keep you up at night, but it's not far-fetched.
No.
Like, to think that Nebraska and Iowa couldn't be in the same vein of, like, what if they start getting bullied by, the top four or something
Oregon
like that,
and Ohio State and Michigan,
because if we don't shake this playoff thing up and start getting some different
people in,
they're going to continue to dominate the discussion.
Yeah, it's a snowball effect, right? Once the momentum gets going for, the 12 teams or the 16 teams or whatever it is, then it just perpetuates itself, right? Because
I just think we're being naive if we don't think that the ruling at Dartmouth matters, if we don't think that there's all these lawyers getting ready to sit on this whole union thing, if you're going to treat college athletes like professionals, there's some downsides to that. So when you start empowering the product per se, or the consumable portion of the product,
the commodity,
in true capitalistic form, the power structure has to strengthen with it. Otherwise, you get revolts.
Yeah, you get total chaos.
No way the powers that be are going to let that happen.
100%.
They're going to continue to have to try to control. It's almost like you're getting enough to eat, but they're not going to let you get fat.
Yeah,
without
they're
going back to regulating your diet.
They're going to leave you hungry.
So that, like, I just think we're kidding ourselves if we think that at some mythical point we can say, okay, we have enough, we've made enough, let's stop right here. At some point, you're going to have to continue to feed the beast.
So,
and as the streamers start pumping in more money, what rich people do you know that just give away money and say, here, we wouldn't like anything in return? At some point, if you're bottom feeding, you typically get left behind.
Fair, yes. The other thing, the streamers complicate things, right? Because Amazon Prime is not paying they're not expecting to get a return on their investment from
Bro, the NFL streamed the playoff game.
I know, but what I'm saying is
the biggest monster in the world streamed a playoff game.
But the reason that NFL or that Amazon Prime pays for that isn't because they want to drive more people to their video streaming. It's because if you sign up for Amazon Prime, you're gonna buy stuff from Amazon, right? So,
I don't know. Is that the way it works?
That's why they do it. I don't know if it works or not, but that's why they do it. Because they say, okay,
I get the philosophy.
If I've already signed up for Prime, I might as well get my free 2-day shipping.
I mean, this is obvious. This is a big boy conversation, right? But I'm just saying, like,
because the economics of what they pay for games doesn't add up.
Yeah,
they
I know.
overpay for games, but because the customer is more valuable, like gaining a customer to them is more valuable than whatever they can gain from streaming rights. That's the only reason their streaming platform exists. It's to drive more people to buy things on Amazon. Honestly, it is the most extreme conclusion of the Michelin star rating. Michelin's a tire company, right? They started rating restaurants across the country to get people to drive more, so they had to buy more tires. That's it.
I understand.
That is why a tire company.
I like that.
That is why a tire company is the gold standard for restaurant ratings in the world, is because they wanted people to buy more tires.
So what I'm saying is that for the last 3 years, I remember Severe and I used to go round and round about this, right? And other folks that were pro expansion, I was like, hey, I think we need to clean up our house first before we invite more guests.
So here's my question, though. Is there any amount of cleaning? Is there any amount of organization that would prevent, maybe because I think you're just delaying the inevitable.
Okay,
and
maybe that's what I asked, Mitch.
And maybe it's worth delaying the inevitable.
But let me tell you why.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. And listen, you could be like, dude, you're crazy.
Okay.
I didn't want NIL, the transfer portal, and expansion to all happen
at the same time
without a break in settling, because we can't get our arms around all of it. We became too reactionary.
Well, it's isolating variables, right?
Well, we did, but it's too late for that. Ideally,
that's what you wanted.
Yeah,
you wanted them to isolate variables.
Yes,
because if you're doing an experiment, you don't know which thing is having what effect if you don't isolate variables.
You got to control the controllables.
Yeah.
And it got away from us all at once. And I know it happened one year after another, but they're all byproducts of the other.
Yes.
If you're going to give players freedom of movement, then
what's the best reason to move? Why do you move jobs most of the time? Better opportunity, more income.
Right.
And if transfer and NIL are inextricable.
So if you're going to allow freedom of movement and you're going to pay me for it, and I can make money while I'm doing it, and I'm still, quote unquote, an amateur, you think power brokers aren't going to want to reset the market?
Right. Because if you're paying for something.
But why did why did we give into the transfer portal to begin with? Do you know why? Because they saw how much money was being made and coaches were jumping ship.
Yeah.
So the hypocrisy of it actually kind of got to the NCAA. They're like, well, fudge, we let Coach so-and-so go. The least we ought to do is throw them a bone and let the players go.
Yep.
Okay. So one spawned the other.
Absolutely.
Without letting the eggs settle. So it's like
we end up in a situation.
And I'm telling you, we're missing 30% of the argument or the discussion that's happening behind closed doors. You're kidding yourself. I said this last weekend and went over everybody's head. You're kidding yourself if you think that all of a sudden Petiti and those guys, and he said it out loud, oh, hey, 12, 14, 8, like, oh, we're getting bigger. We got a lot of work to do. That was your takeaway from your first real sit down about the playoff committee expanding?
Was we got a lot of work to do?
Was how to uniform it? It was to make it bigger?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Don't pee on my shoes and tell me it's raining.
Yeah.
There's no way that should have been the takeaway. But all of a sudden, what are we having a conversation about a week later? Almost like it snuck up on us. I'm telling you, that's why I was listening to all the things. And because he's my boy or I like Nebraska, whatever. I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
And why does Trev keep telling me this? We laugh. He's, oh man, Nebraska, I want to position ourselves for the future. We're like, oh, Trev, what are you talking about? I want to have a seat at the table. Oh, Trev, what are you he's pulled no punches.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a lot. we can get to this next. It's a lot like a situation Creighton might have found itself in if it weren't for the guy we talked to at the end of the 8 o'clock hour when Big East basketball started expanding. We'll get to that next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln, live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. And it's March 1st. You know what that means, DB?
The Ides of March are coming.
Not quite yet.
Team Pisces. Not it.
I need you to chill.
Good Friday's coming up.
It's not February anymore.
We're not quite there yet.
Black History Month's over.
It is. It means I can cut slants off whenever I want now.
We're supposed to eat. We're supposed to eat fish.
It is a Fish Fry Friday.
All right, just tell me
it's
then.
Also time for you to get your entries in for the Warhorse Sportsbook.
Oh, let's go.
$1 million Perfect Bracket Challenge. You can get entries from now, March 1st, that's today, through March 14th with any $50 sportsbook wager or 50 points on slots or racing. You have to be a Warhorse Rewards member, but that makes you eligible with each one of those entries to put in a bracket to try and win that $1 million. Obviously, you make your picks after Selection Sunday comes out before the first games happen. That's between the 17th and the 20th, and give yourself a chance to win $1 million. But even if you don't have a perfect bracket, that's hard. I get it. Still got over $10,000 in prizes for the top brackets, including weekly prizes, and they're doing another prop card challenge as well for the tournament. $100,000 prop card challenge for the semifinal and final games of the season. If you get 18 of the 25 right, not light, you become eligible for those prizes in the prop card challenge as well. Any questions, go to warhorsecasino.com. This is for the Lincoln Casino only to validate your entries and activate your chance to win that big money. warhorsecasino.com for full list of details and rules. Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory.
Be honest.
Yeah.
Over under 100 entries for you to have a perfect bracket.
Oh, over.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's
you do have an irrational sense of.
One year I made it through like a day and a half perfect.
Yeah.
Not a round and a half, like a day and a half perk. I was like 15 or something. And I was thrilled. I was like it used to be this fantasy sports site. I think it was called Sandbox. It's an old school site. It doesn't exist anymore.
What the world?
Yeah. This was like 2002 or so. It's like this was early. This was early on the online fantasy sports stuff. And I was like the number one person in the bracket because I was perfect through like a day and a half. I ended up terrible. I think I only ended up getting one Final Four team. It was a disaster, right? So it's really hard to do, but you get big prizes for big accomplishments. So we got our friends over at Warhorse putting up $1 million so you can do a perfect bracket.
I read an article the other day. I think it was yesterday, maybe, that this is top 2 worst seasons. I think top 2
worst seasons
statistically to be ranked in the top 25 in college basketball.
Oh, in terms of getting upset?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a ton of top 25 upsets this year. It's bonkers. I wanted to speak.
So watch it just be all sorts of
just chalky. Just chalk.
I mean, I don't even know how people are seeding like 5 through 12.
Yeah, you look at, you brought this up with like Dayton and BYU and Nebraska, and a lot of it is
big foreshadowing guy here.
A lot of it is
DB here for foreshadowing.
Just the projection of what we thought these teams were going to be, and they didn't ever do anything to lose that spot in our brains, and so we're just like, yep, they're good to go. And there's not a ton of difference in the resumes. I mean, outside the top 3 teams in the country, everybody's got at least 6 losses. Everybody.
Yeah.
And the number of number of teams between
every time I hear everybody, is that Tim Miles? Everybody. Yeah.
The number of teams
Shout out
between
San Jose State.
6, they're struggling.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Bo. It's Bo.
That's
Bo.
Trev.
That's Trev.
What?
But there's Trev.
Tim's got an everybody.
He's got one right here.
Everybody.
Everybody. I miss his tweets about eating at the golf club.
Timmy?
Yes. He used to tweet out pictures of food when he ate at the old clubhouse. What do you call those things? I
A
don't.
leader.
No, it's not what you call them.
The country club?
Yeah.
There you
Do I
go.
just say country club?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just.
I
say
mean, it's
country
the
club.
clubhouse is the actual building,
Yeah,
right?
I remember there was a stretch in like 13 or 14, and I know this because I was pretty much by myself. But like, oh man, you got to go be a guest and go eat brunch at Firethorn, or was it Firethorn or Wilderness Ridge? No, I think it was Wilderness Ridge. And I remember scrolling like through the menus, and they did look spectacular. Big brunch guy.
I love brunch.
DB here for brunch.
I'm a big brunch guy. Do you have a favorite brunch spot?
Yes. Timber is up there. Timber's up there.
I haven't been there for a brunch.
It's up there.
Is that the place across from Westside?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check it out
no bias.
No free promos, but
yeah.
So it's we're doing the Warhorse Sportsbook cleanup right now because there's a bunch of stuff we didn't get to today that we wanted to.
Shocker.
And we're gonna talk to Matty Vrzal here in a few minutes. But you were bringing up that the situation with Nebraska and your concern about them being left out, right? And
is that where you landed the plane?
I mean, is that not a fair summation?
I don't think but because I did in all of that, I did say I don't think this will ever happen to Nebraska.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is you have to be careful when the beast needs to be fed because they're going to be while it may not be Nebraska,
somebody's getting left out.
It's going to happen to somebody or somebody's.
But the place where you're,
and I'm not sure I'm cool with that.
That's fair. And I'm not either.
And it could very well be Nebraska.
The reason I was pro expansion is because I don't want people left out.
No, it's because you don't see very far ahead.
No, that's not true.
Are you sure?
Yes.
It sounds good to me.
I mean, you can say whatever you want. It doesn't mean it's true.
I tried to slide in a little jab, and you're like,
nope, Perry.
Pernell Whitaker.
No, I wanted expansion. I understand the problems with it. I understand.
No, you're Mr. I want to be entertained guy.
I do want to be entertained, but the reason I think expansion is more entertaining for me
because you're not Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Are you not entertained?
I do have the tattoo though.
Are you not?
I want more teams involved. I'm a Cinderella guy in March Madness.
Oh, I forgot. I heard this. I heard this with expansion. Hey, other kids will want to go to other schools, and I was like, that's not happening until some of these coaches start to retire. You're not just going to mythically, and I picked this as an example. I said, you're not mythically going to want to be Sauce Gardner going to Cincinnati. How's 2 years later when you guys were throwing Cincinnati in my face or UCF? Shout out Christian Jones. He's not going to go to UCF. Like
breaking news.
But I heard all these teams.
No, but
I heard all these teams,
I
Robbie.
Know you did.
What? How do you? It's going to split up the recruiting monopoly. Actually, probably not, because as we got closer to power conferences, you're still going to have the power teams.
The thing that splits up the recruiting monopoly is transfer portal, because you can stack as many 5-stars as you want. Not all of them are going to sit the bench.
No, you're basically going to hoping to
you go on the secondary market. If you can't afford the shoes that you want, you go to the secondary market, right? You can't afford.
Do you know how much StockX costs?
Sometimes a lot more.
Do you know how much GOAT costs?
Sometimes a lot more.
So will the NIL.
That's fine. But if you're willing to invest in it, even at the NIL, right? Even with the NIL, there's teams that have money or that potentially could have money that don't get a seat at the table with some of those guys.
I just think we were allowed to have the wool pulled over our eyes. We thought the Wild Wild West was going to be in the NIL market and the transfer portal. The transfer portal has calmed down a little bit. It's not near as dramatic as we made it out to be.
Because people don't want to get left out in the cold.
And I said it stuff like that always regulates itself.
It does.
It always regulates. So that didn't bother me. But do you know what happened while we were all worried about what's going on over here? Is over here all the power brokers were positioning themselves to still be able to call the shots.
Yeah.
And we were so worried about what the players were doing. It won't be long if it's not already happening now. You will be rooting for the establishment and not the power brokers, because you're going to find yourself, hey, player, hey, little Kenny Lulla, go get your money, as opposed to, hey, Creighton, go win. And Creighton's a bad example because they're still part of the. It's a basketball school, but like football, like, hey, Michigan, I cheer for you. Like, you'll find yourself, if we're not careful, cheering for the individual entities and not the teams if you let the teams get out of hand.
Like the players, the individual players themselves.
Yeah, you watch.
I mean, that's what I do in the NBA.
And again, another good analogy of a trash model you don't want. Not that the NBA is a bad product, but you don't want your profession. You don't want the same usual suspects having a chance at all the best free agents.
Yeah, that's fair. That is the Warhorse Sportsbook Sports Cleanup. Coming up next, we still didn't get to like 90% of the stuff we want to talk about. But coming up next, we're going to talk to our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisan's Pizzeria, here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. As we wrap up the show and the week here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln, want to remind you about our friends at the Team Jack Foundation. Their gala was last weekend, but you can get involved at any time at teamjackfoundation.org. They partner with the top national institutes for cancer research, and their goal is to find better treatments for kids fighting brain cancer and one day a cure. You can donate directly online or find events that they are sponsoring and putting on. That's teamjackfoundation.org. Joining us now on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline is our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisan's Pizzeria. Verz, how are you this morning?
Good, boys. How you living?
Good. I'm a big combine junkie. I'm curious to get your thoughts, especially on the heels of our conversation about fitness and whatever that was the other day. Because and for the record, I think it ended up being like 27 minutes and 31 seconds we talked when I was waiting for Micah.
Yeah.
That is almost the exact amount of time that I had spent on the phone for the week up until Wednesday. Like actual phone call time.
Yeah. We had a good conversation going. You actually answered the phone when I called you.
Is that it? I think
we have good conversations when you talk to me.
Wow.
DB answered the phone. What's that like?
I don't know what that he's talking about.
Hey, man.
What?
Hey, Damon.
Hey, Matt. What?
Who turns older than dirt tomorrow?
I don't know. What are you talking about? I can't see.
Not me.
See, I mean, why, Matt? Why? Why?
Because you're my friend, and I want you to have an awesome birthday. And I'm going to push my money in the first hand of poker, and I ain't stopping until somebody beats me.
You're unbelievable. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. You leave me alone.
This happened.
Hey, can I ask you a combine question?
That white dude from North Carolina State?
448? You talking about Murphy?
He can fly.
444.
Dude.
Wilson.
Oh, yeah, Peyton Wilson. Yeah,
he was flying.
Yeah. I kind of like the shadow. I like the beard he was rocking.
Buddy.
Hey, let me ask
all white versus all black game is going to get interesting. We just need to get some corners.
You got one. You got Cooper. You got the one.
He waited until
Jason Sehorn could come out of retirement.
He waited till the calendar turned. He was cool in February. Now he's out. Welcome back, man.
I don't know if Jason Sehorn's still playing.
All right, what do you got? We got combine wise.
Yeah, so Sweat, he's 365 or 6 yesterday.
Yep.
He jumped 25 inches.
Sure did.
Is that where would you put that in the pantheon of no way that number really happened?
Well, put it in perspective, and contrary to my playing career, but at 333, my vertical was 26. So he's got 30 more pounds and he's 1 inch high.
I mean, that's
amazing.
That's pretty impressive.
Hey, what was his 10 yard?
I should know.
I'll bring it up. I got it right here.
Well, he ran a 5.2.
There ain't no need to make the lineman runs 40 yards. Dog.
No, I understand.
1.8. It was
1.8.
Here's the only thing that happens if a lineman is going 40 yards.
Listen, he was 1.8.
Something has gone incredibly great, and we are just jogging along, or something has gone incredibly wrong, and we are not going to factor into that.
Jason Peter making an assisted tackle against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, we ain't catching nobody. Come on. Dishman, you got to tell Dish. Yeah, if you see Dish the next time he's back in town, make him tell you his story about running figure eights in the NFL when intercepted that. It's hilarious because he makes me laugh every time he tells it. Because you can go through these hand motions, just got big Dish like acting like an airplane. It's like, just run figure eights. Don't cheap shot me. Please don't hit me. Oh, God, that guy. I miss that dude. Holy crap.
Hey, speaking of like figure eights, is that your favorite drill, where they lay the little rag down around the hula hoop and those guys have got to bend? Like, what are you watching when you're looking to see functional drills? Cam.
The D lineman?
Yeah.
Man, you can see I think that's way valuable for your edge guy. Because you can, and it'll sound weird, but it's all that ankle flexion. Like you got to have solid ankles to do that, because if you don't, like everybody wants to watch the arm and they're picking the thing up and watch the bend on their ankle. You kind of start to watch like, is that going to snap?
Yeah.
That's not
I'm actually with you. I think ankle flexion is a thing.
Yeah.
It really is a thing. People talk about bend but because that's how you can really get force against the ground too. Like let's say for a front squat, or it's all on.
Well, that's the cleans too. It's the triple flexion, right? It's the ankle, knee, hip. That's where the power comes from, is out of the ground.
For those that are multiple sport, if you want your kid to specialize, you're dumb, number one. But number two, I at Paisans, I go in a repetitive motion all the time, right? I go left to right. I just basically side shuffle all day, or I walk straight ahead. My ankles, I've tried to get my ankle flexion back because it just got in such a rut of doing that. It is freaking painful. Like it sucks. So I evidently had it at one time, and now it's gone away because I tried to do some stuff I could normally do, and my ankle's like, no, we ain't doing that.
So do you like Jenkins? Because I thought again, just watching him play, he's sensational, and the numbers actually kind of back it up. It's not jaw dropping, but for his frame, like Chris Jenkins, he's a dude.
He's legit, yeah. Oh yeah, but I mean you got great genetics to start.
I wish it were that easy.
But when you get well, look at your kids. Your kids are athletic.
Yeah.
But when you get a good starting point, and then you get a work ethic behind a starting point, right? That kid works. He's worked at that. I would like to see them develop for the linemen, both offensively and defensively. It's kind of like the punching bag one, right? So instead of just throwing a punch at it, though, you get in your stance and you get 2 steps to generate as much force as you can into that blocking dummy, and then it registers it, right?
Yeah.
So now I can see what your hips really are. Because you can train to beat a vertical jump. You really can. But now instead of that vertical going straight up and down plane, I want that thing out at like a 30-degree angle plane.
Yeah.
So you're going to say, okay, well, broad jump. Listen, man. Now, big people can broad jump.
Do you know who
big people can broad jump?
Go ahead.
But the landing, they ain't. Trust me. Them big dudes in there like, oh my God, I have to land, and this could go real bad.
You know who'd be really good at the punch?
2 steps, bam.
He'd be fantastic. Nash Upmaker would be really good at that punch drill you're talking about. Remember when he used to just put his hands on his guys out of his stance? He wasn't even very fit yet.
Buddy, I'm telling you, he is going to break the string. He is going to be an all-conference player for Nebraska for however many 100 years it's been since we've had one.
Hey,
we've never did at the weight he was at, and now being in shape and playing.
We've never talked about him.
Me and you did.
Did we?
At Paisans, yeah.
Was it this year or last year? And we got into what his magical weight would be. Okay,
I remember. You just poo-pooed my conversations that we have.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I still don't know where we landed the plane on.
I'll say, what number do you like Nash at? Because he played at what, 330 last year?
Do you remember what I told you? I said I want to be on record that I am saying Nash Huntmacher is going to be an all-conference player.
Yep.
I'm saying it right now.
Yep. I remember now.
Because this was like a day after he was back in wrestling. Because I know if he's going to wrestle, he cut all that weight off because he got to be 270 and 5 or whatever the weight
Yeah,
is.
he was 280. He was 287 when I was talking to you, but because you had to get to 285.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. There we go. So I was like, that dude at 285. So now you go into when wrestling's done, whatever he's going to wrestle, that's fine. You are getting in amazing cardio shape, which he needs because he played every snap at a heavy weight.
Yeah.
So now you're saying, even say he gets to 300, you're saying 30 pounds. That game's going to be a lot easier. And now your hands are kind of back active. Your feet are back active. You don't have that weight on there. Now you go get a little stronger, and that 15 pounds you put back on is muscle, and you're playing that zero technique at 300, and you're quick, agile, and in shape.
Yeah, his punch is fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Like he would get into guys, and I was like, man.
Well, and I think if you go back and watch last year, the number of plays where he had that initial explosion or punch or whatever, and then couldn't finish it because I don't think he was in good enough shape, especially by the end of games. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Verge. You're saying you think he finishes a lot of those plays this year?
No, I'm telling you this. Last year is a tough read because how often did they sub in for him?
Not a lot.
Like, anybody going to get tired.
Yeah.
You can go out and carry around. You can be 125 playing against another set of 125s, and you're playing 85 snaps, and they're not.
I asked Ravi if we could get him to 50 functional snaps this year. Can you
Two
imagine?
things on the way out. No, Bears do not draft Caleb Williams, and kids at basketball games storm the court. They're Division I athletes. If they can't get out of the way, that is not your problem.
Matty Vrzal here for
that and if you have your kids playing one sport, you're dumb. Anything else you want to get off as a scud?
Play it all. Play everything.
Thank you, Verge.
All right, buddy.
See ya.
That's Matt Vrzal. This has been Hurrdat Sports Radio for the week. We'll be back on Monday here